Hey.
Good morrow. I'm always the biggest mystery in my life is why, and I bet it's on Restream's back end, but your screen always comes on blank for me for the first 30 seconds. It gets there
After that teaser, like the countdown video.
Yeah,
we've
like
been
right
talking
now,
here for 30
the
minutes.
screen is black, but don't do anything. It'll just magically come on, and I never know whether the audience can see it or not. Maybe somebody could tell us one day.
I've never had anybody say that they can't, and they're normally pretty vocal about it. The one thing I will say is that because I've been using Restream to record the that podcast that I've been doing with Drip Cult and Dirty Milk, they seem to have way more problems as well, and I don't know why. It's always seemed to have worked properly for me, except for the chat every once in a while gets hung up. You know what I mean? Like, it's so I don't have like an extra special PC or something that works. It just always seems to work properly for me. But I get the frustrations too, because like I can see it. If that makes sense.
See it now.
I can feel it.
Feel it in the air. There you are. Boom. See?
It just yeah.
30
Okay.
seconds.
30 seconds. Yeah. It's like clockwork.
Yep.
I don't know. That's so weird. I would have to go back and like I'm going to go back and like look at one of the old videos and see if it records like that.
It just makes for a dramatic reveal every day.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a Lakers fan today.
What does he wear?
Well, you're always a Lakers fan.
Always a Lakers fan. Yeah.
Not those dirty Toronto Raptors.
I like the Raptors too, but that's like the hometown thing. Like you kind of got to go for them, and they're Canada's team. Yeah, man, we're back on air. We had a couple of hiccups over the last couple months, but I think we're in a spot now where we can keep that rolling. But I apologize for the inconsistencies, but life does happen sometimes.
I will tell you what bad luck can do to a person. I was in 15th place in Raid Party back towards the end of season 2. I ended up getting about 15th place in that tournament in season 2, which was nice. It was a good win. Since then, I have failed 6 upgrades in a row, 6 enhancements in a row, and these are hero enhancements. So I have to mint a new hero every week. So I have to spend 1,500 confetti to mint 15 fighters. And then
are you still playing it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you got to understand, if you are above 50th place in the tournament, it's pretty positive EV every week.
Right.
Like every other P2E game, NFT is quote unquote dead. This one still pulls in, $400 or $500 a week, depending on where you land in the tournament. And if you're in the top 15, we're talking thousands. So now, again, this tournament is being funded in a way that isn't sustainable. It's a bridge to a fully completed game. So I wouldn't expect, these tournaments constantly in perpetuity until the underlying system on how they're funded changes. But for now, it's very good motivation for people to keep playing the game. Unfortunately for me, 6 misses in a row, of which 2 were downgrades and 4 were fails of my hero, which again cost me 4,100 confetti a week to attempt, and it has been very bad luck. I am now in 49th place, which means if my enhancement fails this week, I will be kicked out of the top 50. And it will no longer be positive EV for me to play. It would only be positive EV for me to sell confetti. So,
what is confetti at these days? Because I thought I checked it on like CoinGecko. Oh, is it? Oh, that's
a nickel. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Zug is 2.5 cents.
And how is the guilds going?
The guild's just started and it's going very well. It's a major confetti sink.
Oh, good.
And it's key. Obviously, there's two problems that need to be solved. There is the massive confetti buildup by players who have been playing a long time. And then there is the need for new players to come in at the lower end. Now, guilds solve one of those problems because now it's a massive confetti sink every week for the larger players who are all participating in guilds. But it doesn't solve the problem of bringing in newer players because you need to have a pretty big team for a guild to be attractive to you.
This is this is an interesting conversation because I think that idea of like having a more like you need people playing these games, right? Like
Yep.
I think the concept of like an exclusively token gated game, whether it's 5,000, whether it's 10,000, just doesn't work. Like I think that we're going to go into the next meta really realizing that,
Yeah, what we have had up until now was a combination of two things, right? Because crypto and NFTs are gamified by nature. This is all a game, right? Largely up until this point, crypto has been a casino, the largest unregulated casino in the world. And the game has been buy the Ponzi and sell it before anyone else. Most people participating know this. Like you understand. Yes, I know when you first come in and you see the things that some of these coins saying, you buy into, narratives and this and that and the other thing, but it's really a game of buy and sell, right? And it's understanding crowd behaviors and buying before the crowd gets there and selling before the crowd leaves. So that in and of itself is a game. We created GameFi, right? Or P2E in that mindset, in that format. It was formatting itself for the NFT market. Whereas the proper way to approach it is to format gaming, format NFTs for gaming, not the other way around, right? So as R2 just pointed out, and as I'm sure a collection we're going to be talking about during this show is really digging their heels in and saying
is a lot of noise.
Is the way of the future, is this free to own model, right? It's not that the value won't be there, but the free mint meta, as we have been calling it for months now, is allegedly, supposedly, however you want to say it, by some people's estimation, completely changing how NFTs and how gaming within NFTs is going to work. It's going to look a lot more like traditional gaming.
I think that there definitely has to be some kind of happy middle ground that's found in this, right? We've seen all of these, even I'm going to lump Raid Party into it too. It's just Wizards and Dragons and Whales game and oh god, remember even like See My Cat, like stuff like that. Like they are really good for a very short period of time. The people that got in at the beginning make tons of money provided they exit basically before everybody else does, and then everybody else is left holding this huge bag. That's not fun. That's not really a game, right? And it's all about actually building something that people are enjoying playing and then rewarding the initial holders and incentivizing them to continue to hold and having value within the ecosystem, within the game that they want to play, right? This is something we talk a lot about at Star Wolves. And I know we don't talk a ton about Star Wolves on this show, but like I'm very proud that we've started to get these partner projects coming in and they can actually play the game and earn Stardust, not at the same rate or the same potency that Star Wolves holders can, but they can participate in that ecosystem, right? And now all of a sudden there's more people playing PvP against the other people. Now all of a sudden, there's more people that are excited about the ecosystem, spending money in the in-game currency shop. Now this is all in its early stages, but I just think that that's really important. You really just need an influx of outside people. It can't just be, the same 20 people, the same 100 people, the same 1,000 people, the same, even 5,000 is not a very big game.
It's the bottom line with all of this. I mean, I talk about this a lot as the person in charge of our games economy and what people refer to as tokenomics. There is a lot you could and should do within what is called tokenomics to encourage a healthy economy and ecosystem. That does not mean it is magic. That does not mean there is some sort of formula that I or some other game economist is going to come up with that creates value out of thin air. That's physics. That has nothing to do with what we can do. The bottom line is always going to be demand. Can you bring in people who want to play these games? And how that is done is obviously the debate. You got to make the game good. You have to make it fair. You have to make it so, all these type of things. But what's true, the reason I said crypto is a game, it's a casino, it all is because every game has what it looks like on the face and then an underlying meta. We use the word meta a lot, right? But isn't that true with every game? There's like your basic game, that poker, right? Poker seems to be about which hand is stronger to beat the weaker hand. The underlying meta in poker is bluffing, okay? It's that you can lie about what hand you have through your betting, okay? That's the underlying meta in poker. Everything has an underlying, and the underlying meta in these games has been figure out when it's reaching its peak and sell out before other people. And people, oh, that's not a game. That's a Ponzi. That's da-da-da. While you're debating what it is, the people who understood the underlying meta were banking. So if you enjoy playing games, just figure out what the underlying meta of the game is and exploit it. If you casually enjoy playing games for the fun of the basicness of it, that's great too. You can do that as well. But the central debate, because I know cost of entry, like you're thinking orcs used to have a floor of like $15,000. How is anyone logically going to get into a game with those type of floor prices, right? So all of these projects are now thinking, whether they're saying it publicly or not, about free-to-play options. And that's, I think, going to be great and profound because now people have something to work their way up to. And that means that those underlying assets can get back to those prices because now the game has two parts to it. One where people can play for free and ideally work their way up to owning those assets, or larger players and rich people can essentially just buy those assets outright and get into something that's a fun thing.
And that's a fair transaction, right? Like, if somebody has money, whether it's, from working hard, having a great job, or even just inheritance or whatever, right? They're transacting just their money for somebody else's time, somebody that put the time into the game. Like it's basically proof of work, right? They put the energy into the ecosystem. They contributed to a robust game. I don't think it's wrong for somebody that doesn't have a lot of time but wants to play a game even at a high level to come in and say, like, I have the money, you have the time. It's just very cool to me now that we're shifting that dynamic to the players, to the owners, rather than to the big game companies, right? And that's the end goal, is that's what the underlying token is for. That's what the underlying use case for all of this stuff is, to be able to transact peer-to-peer rather than, business to consumer. So and of course, this is all coming from, we've been talking about this for months and months and months, but DigiDaigaku, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, is out there splashing around in a big way and hitting a 16 ETH floor. Absolutely incredible, but they're also really like causing a stir about this. They're being very vocal about their ideas. There's got some controversial thoughts, and it's a very interesting conversation. We also have some other metaverse type conversations. We're going to tie in ENS names. We're going to tie in Yuga Labs with the other side, and Eminem and Snoop Dogg's concert set at the VMAs. VMAs also having a metaverse award, which I didn't know until this morning. You told me about. That was very cool. And then we've got some other stuff we're going to talk about too. I think Vitalik's Vitalik being long on ETH is probably the first one, but let's get into the markets real quick right now. Over the past week, ETH went down and ETH is starting to climb back up. I think we hit lows of, what was it, just under 1,400, just over
1422. 1422 is the low.
1422. We are sitting at 1566 at this very moment, up about 5% on the day. We've pulled back just a little bit, but I think it's more coincidental timing, but ETH may be pumping on BDV, some big dick Vitalik tweets, images going out on Twitter. I don't know, man. You wanna break this down? Are we bullish or what? Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
even pull up the
a
screen.
picture of
There we go.
Vitalik with a friend, a lady friend. I don't know if it's his girlfriend or if it's just somebody, that he was
She's
hanging
wearing
out.
an Ethereum shirt.
Yeah. Oh, it's probably an employee. Who knows? Whatever. But he is standing there, and there is quite the visible large bulge in his pants for to cover your children's ears for this part of the program. But this has obviously become quite the meme this morning, as whether it was coincidental timing or not, ETH began to break out of a bull flag pretty violently right as this picture started to circulate on Twitter. There is
we're look at about midnight, right about here. It started circulating on Twitter. It just ripped like pretty much 5-6% in a second.
We did briefly touch $1,600 this morning until the consumer confidence numbers came out and kind of knocked macro markets off their highs. There's correlation to traditional finance right now, not as strong as it has been, but certainly as we had a very, very red day on Friday due to the Jackson Hole Summit, the S&P took coins down right along with it, and ETH, as we said, made that new low of 1422. It is a 50%, exactly 50% retrace of the 120% rise we saw off of $880, which was the panic low, or the 3AC liquidation low that we made back in June.
Pretty hard to believe that's 2.5 months ago now, too.
It's crazy, right? And people want to talk about up only. There was a pretty good up only moment that, when there's a feeling when there's just an underlying bid and you can kind of sleep almost knowing it's going to at least be stable or up the net. It had that feeling again. It was, from once it got above, I think 1,200, it felt very, very up only with maybe 2 down days, 2 bad down sessions during that period. And we got up to $2,019. Now, I had a $2,015 target at which I sold everything that I had been long since 1,400. And the reason was because right before we lost 17. Remember, 1,700 was a big battleground. We did not know whether we were going to lose that level at a certain point. And right before we did, there was a violent bull trap one weekend that saw a rally from 1,750 all the way up to $2,015. And that was such a psychologically debilitating bull trap that price had memory. I say this all the time. Price has memory. And I remembered that bull trap very well. So just in my mind, I thought to myself, when ETH gets back there, anybody who was psychologically scarred by that moment is going to take the opportunity to get their money off the table. I'm even. And I thought we would see a nice pullback. I thought we would get down to about 1,680, 1,700. And that's exactly where we were until Jerome Powell started opening his mouth. We were part of this Jackson Hole symposium where the Fed was as hawkish as they've been. There was no waffling. They were basically like, we will break this goddamn economy if you don't cool down your goddamn hiring. Stop hiring. Stop it. And, people.
And in Canada, the government just told employers to stop giving employees raises.
Yeah,
that was nice. That was good. Good for them.
Very counterintuitive stuff for your average person, right? Your average person's shit is more expensive at the store. I need jobs and raises. And governments are telling businesses, stop giving people jobs and raises. It's a very strange message.
It's all in the wording too, though, right? When they just flat out come out and say, don't give in to your employees, stop giving raises. The voting population is just doing that annoyed guy, like, like looking around, like, what do you mean? Like, gas is higher than it's ever been, and you're telling me that like I shouldn't get more money? But you're right?
Right.
It's a spiral.
So the Fed is in a position right now where a large portion of the market, and maybe even governments in other countries, think the Fed has lost credibility. They did not raise rates soon enough. They got addicted to the 0% growth. They let inflation get out of the way. And now we are yet to see if they have the tools to stop it, because they have risen rates as aggressively as they have in decades, and the employment market hasn't cooled down a stitch. It's getting stronger. This is not what the Fed wants to see. This is scaring the Fed, okay? Conversely, the other, if you take out the theory, okay, because right now the theory is if these prices are, if employment is high, prices must continue to go up. Well, let's look at the pump. Even just here in New York City, we hit $3.83 per gallon out here in Brooklyn, down from a high of $5.01. And it has been down only, okay? And
yeah, we're down about 40% from our gas highs too. Yeah.
And that is something people notice, okay? Regardless of what is being told to them, when they go look at that, they say, and that $4 level, psychological. Once it was under 383, people breathe a sigh of relief. And I will tell you right now, gasoline is continuing to fall. Talked about it a lot. The majority of this inflation is a supply issue. I'd say about 2% of it is the hot economy and like I think inflation would be running about 4%. If all the supply chains were loose, inflation would be about 4%. That's still probably too high for definitely too high for the Fed to leave rates at 0. But 4 would be a target, right? Right now, they're like, we don't know if 4 is the target. 4 is our short term, but we don't know if that's going to kill it. But we have to see. After the market has rallied for 20%, this is the S&P I'm talking about, not ETH, rallying 20% off its lows because the market's looking at commodities. The market's looking at CPI. They're looking at the data and going, but the data is cooling off. We are seeing what you want, lower prices. The Fed, for them to change language or for them to actually pivot, needs to hit very specific inflation targets. But they're going to get there in their heads before they make it known publicly. And the market knows that. The market is following the data just as closely as the Fed is. The trick on Friday, the reason I think it was a bear trap and why the market is actually going to make new highs is because the Fed, it's not about what they're saying. The market wants you to think it's about what the Fed said. They're going to be hawkish. It's very data dependent. If we get softer inflation numbers in the next few weeks, this market's going to rally hard on that. It is data dependent.
Yeah, because we're looking at what, halfway through the month of September, we'll get the next inflation print.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. And I think everybody, the reason we sold off, the real reason ETH sold off from 2000 and the S&P sold off from 4,300 was because of sentiment. Everyone had finally thrown in the towel and said, okay, we're bullish again. Inflation's cooling, the merge is coming, and now we have the Fed who may even change their language. Well, the Fed didn't change their language. And with nobody left to buy, we got the sentiment trap, okay? We got too bullish in the immediate term. That sentiment has been reset. People are saying it was all a fever dream. This rally never should have happened. Listen to the Fed. Stuff is still bad. Well, guess what? We're going to have more data points coming out. And when those data points are bullish or soft or dovish, however you want to frame it, I think the market will rally. It is not about what the Fed says yet, okay, yet. I do think we're going to have a bull trap up to about 4,400. And that is when the Fed is going to finally change their, because they're going to see inflation. They're going to say, wow, if inflation data really continues on this path, we can see ourselves doing da-da-da-da. The moment that happens, markets and ETH are going to top, and we're going to reverse, and we're going to start getting bad numbers again, and we're going to have some sort of double dip. But I really think until then, weakness is to be bought. And that's basically what's happened over the last couple of weeks.
You got it. We're gonna get into. Let's talk about the MTV. The Best Metaverse Performance Award category came out, and the Snoop Dogg and Eminem performance. The Metaverse conversation in this regard is a little bit looser and not quite as Web3 centric as we focus on in the show, but it is interesting nonetheless. And I'm assuming that this was something that kind of came off the back of, I think it was last year or maybe it was 2020, the Travis Scott concert in Fortnite that, you know, I often refer to, like my son going to a Travis Scott concert, like in Fortnite with his buddies, and they were like, you know, in their avatars side by side with each other. And it was an actual experience for them. This has been more and more prevalent, particularly in Fortnite, but not exclusive to. And the MTV, the Video Music Awards, has come out with the Metaverse performance. So it had Ariana Grande's Fortnite, Blackpink's The Virtual on PUBG, which is Player Unknown, BTS on YouTube. There was some Roblox. Justin Bieber was on there, 21 Pilots. So, you know, some pretty big names in what they're considering to be a Metaverse
Ariana Grande performed in Fortnite?
Yeah, man, they do some like serious thing. Actually, really interesting stat about Fortnite. So everybody knows about Fortnite's battle royale, where, you know, 100 people or, you know, 20 teams or whatever jump into this area and they basically shoot each other. Yeah, you do. One person's left, the winner, blah blah blah, right? But Fortnite also has a creative mode where, you know, individuals can build their own little arenas and have game modes, and they can go and hang out there, play with each other, their friends, invite other people in there. They've actually opened this up to developers a lot more now too. So there's going to be a lot more high quality game modes going in there. But Fortnite actually has more hours played in this creative mode than it does in the battle royale mode now. It's like 53 or 54% of all playtime currently is in the creative mode, which means this is particularly just people jumping into Fortnite and hanging around while they shoot each other, chatting on voice chat and whatnot. Again, if you want some bullish indication that people actually do hang out in metaverse situations, Fortnite and Roblox are absolutely massive, and we're going to get to Roblox at the tail end of this discussion. But speaking of metaverse performances, Eminem and Snoop Dogg basically did, you know, and you're kind of bullish on this, an augmented reality style performance in which the reception was not overly great. I'm going to pull it up on the screen here while we're talking about it, and just put it on full screen so that you guys, you know, a better foot to have been put forward. I'm all of a sudden, not that I was never bullish on Yuga. I think that they've always taken the right steps. I think they've always done the right things, and they've obviously delivered incredible value, not only to NFT holders, but their NFT holders, but the NFT space in general. Again, I think that this is going to be huge. What was your thoughts when you were watching this kind of pop up? Because I think most people's initial reaction was that was very lackluster.
Yeah, I mean, whether it was graphically and visually impressive, no. I think having their tentacles into Hollywood is the story here, because I am going to guess that 90% of the people watching this broadcast had no idea that was a Bored Ape, had no idea that they were in a metaverse. They probably just thought it was some sort of like retro leaning performance art that they had put together for that skit. So I think it makes Bored Ape holders happy. Your average person has no idea what is going on. And as far as bullish signals, obviously these salvos and connections into Hollywood are fabulous signs of the impending mass adoption that is going to be slow and then all at once. So this is the beginning.
And I think it's going to go a long way to easing people into that concept, right? They'll have seen this on the VMAs, and of course they didn't put a disclaimer of what this is. Like there was no sign at the beginning that said this is, you know, from the other side metaverse, or this is an NFT or anything. They just did it. And one of the bullish things that we always talk about is that eventually you're not going to be referring to all of these things as NFTs. You're just going to accept the concept of digital ownership, digital assets, and branding, right? It's going to become so second nature, and things like this just existing in the mainstream VMAs and in the mainstream eye is when the time comes, it's going to be a lot easier to just accept it. We're in the mainstream awareness phase, not the mainstream adoption phase. But when it comes, like Free Market said, it's going to come quickly. Of course, Reddit, not overly happy about it. The Eminem subreddit freaking out, just saying he needs to retire, blah, blah, blah. Always bullish when I see Reddit start to FUD things. I don't know. It just gets me going. But I also think that there's a bigger conversation about the other side, and maybe why it's time to start being even more bullish on ApeCoin and the other sides, because thinking about it lately, and we were talking about this in the pre-show about how there's 100,000 other side deeds out in existence. They're at 1.7 ETH floor. There is 200,000 more to come. And this seems like a big supply, right? Like this is a big number in terms of NFT projects that we don't often see. 10K was for a little while regarded as way too big. 20K was unfathomable. 200K is huge. But when you're looking at other side deeds, and I'm going to tie this now into Roblox, when I said developers can develop their own games, and anybody that has Roblox can log into those games, play with their avatars in that setting, and of course spend Robux, which is their native currency, right? You can go into those games, spend your Robux in those games. The developer of those games get a cut of the transaction, which is great because the developers are getting paid to make content within their game. It's one of the reasons why Roblox has a huge, robust ecosystem. I personally think that the other side deeds, and maybe this has been confirmed, maybe this has been spoken about ad nauseum. I'm not sure because I'm not in the Yuga ecosystem on a day-to-day basis, but I think, developers are going to be able to make things within the other side ecosystem. And I think to do so, you are going to need another side deed. You're going to be able to build something that people can transact in Ape within that ecosystem, and you will get either 100% of it or a cut of it. However that ends up going down, I would like to think it's probably going to just be a cut of it. But to build, you need to own another side deed and hold it and build within that ecosystem. Now, 100,000 still seems like a lot. 100,000 games, 100,000, metaverses. I'm going to throw this out there. How many games do you think exists on Roblox? Now, you already know the answer because we were talking about this in the pre-show, but I think you're. What's that? It's greater than 4.
Oh, okay.
What was your guess? You said 200,001 to just be
a
little bit
200,001.
Yeah, just to be a little bit cheeky, right? Yeah, of course. Within Roblox, I'm going to pull up some stats here. There have been 40 million games developed on the Roblox platform. I think I scrolled by it. Where are we here? Daily active users, 43 million daily active users. Damn it, I had it pulled up perfectly and I blew it. Anyways, 40 million games. There it is. Yeah. 40 million games developed on the Roblox ecosystem. Now, not all of them have had probably any time played, but when you consider how big and how many people use Roblox, how many people hang out within that ecosystem and just, treat it as a real metaverse, which it is, and you consider that 40 million games have been developed on it, if you need an other side deed to develop a game on it, that means that there will be 200,000 in existence. That is less than 1% of the development that has happened on Roblox. Now, another question. What are the most popular games on Roblox? I have no idea what any of these are, what the game style is, and how they play. But of the top 10, all of them have been visited more than 3 billion times. Okay. So when we are talking about people's propensity to spend time in these environments, it is very, very high. And Yuga and the other side, if they can make a fun environment, if they can make a fun, robust ecosystem, even capturing 1% of what Roblox has done can be a massive success. And I think that they have the ability to do a lot more than that, especially with the reach that free market was talking about within Hollywood, right? Within the celebrity community. There's going to be concerts in this. There are going to be events. There are going to be big, big things that draw people into that ecosystem. And if it's fun, they're going to stick around, and it's all going to transact in Ape. Now, I don't own a single thing from Yuga. I don't own a Bored Ape Kennel Club, Bored Ape, Mutant. I don't even own any Ape coin. But now I'm starting to think about this and what they've continually pulled off. And I had one of those moments again when I was looking at that VMA performance, and I just said, damn, this is going to be a real thing.
Yes. The other side, like when you look, as we were talking about Roblox and Fortnite, if you kind of think like, what could the other side be planning? How do they view it? They probably think they're the only ones with the cultural sway to even have a competing metaverse with these Web2 companies. Like Web3 likes to believe that we are building the metaverse. What the VMAs told me is that for young people, the metaverse is here.
Oh, yeah.
Now Web3 needs to make the case about why this is the better metaverse.
It is 100% here. And I mean, I can go back 15, 20 years to MMOs like EverQuest, Ultima Online, World of Warcraft, and a handful of others. And people hung out then too, right? Like this isn't a new concept, but the acceptability of it and the amount of people that do it is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger as those younger demographics start to, get older and older. And those habits aren't going to change. Sure, as you get older and you have a family and you have a career, your time to be able to do so definitely diminishes. But the idea, the concept of actually doing it will not. The acceptability of doing it will not, right? And I think that that's going to be important. And as Free Market said, this stuff already does exist. It's very clear in the stats that it does. And it's just, how is Web3 going to justify its existence on top of it? And I think we all agree that there's the strongest use case you can have for it, which is the idea of now you properly own all of the assets and all of the things that you've done within the those metaverses. So I've been scrolling through this and looking at it. It's incredible. The average daily user on Roblox spends 2.6 hours per day on the platform. And remember, I just said, what was it, 40 million users daily on it? Like it's absolutely nuts. That is so much time.
I think that there is a constant mental exercise in not just our industry, but financial media, those that watch us kind of from the outside and aren't in crypto the way we are. They're constantly asking us, well, tell us why blockchain does this better. Tell us why blockchain does it. What is it? Why is it better than what we have now? What's going to force everybody to go blah, 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 blah. And you could say that with gaming right now, right? Ariana Grande performed in Fortnite. Like, I've never once in my life considered buying or playing Fortnite. And when I read that this morning, my eyebrow went, oh, so that's a place people actually hang out. That's that's going to be the same thing with Bored Apes. People are going to see that Snoop and Eminem did an exclusive concert in the other side. People are going to go, huh, what's that? And what's going to happen is something that Trojan horses its way into the masses via culture is going to display the benefits of blockchain to the point where people then go to these other entities like, hey, we want that over there. Now that we've had this, we don't want to go back. It wasn't enough to make us destroy and abandon things like Fortnite and Roblox, but now that we've had it over on the other side, we want it from you guys. Like that's what's going to happen, is that it's going to be this thing that once people have it, they won't be able to go back, but it on its own isn't enough to convert most people.
Correct. And this is a actual good segue into the DigiDaigaku conversation because Gabriel Layden has been on Twitter. Now, this is the founder and CEO of Limit Break, which is houses DigiDaigaku. That in itself is an incredible story. Of course, it was a free mint called out by Clampy and AlphaMint while it was minting a couple weeks ago. had a good run up to like 1 ETH, pulled back. It revealed it was down to like 0.7 for a little bit. And then it has just been on an absolute tear. I'm going to refresh it. 15 ETH floor right now, was up higher than 16. I mean, this thing has flipped Moonbirds, it's flipped Azuki, it's flipped Doodles. It is really just like taking no prisoners. There's an airdrop coming, I believe, on Friday. Steve Aoki apparently even made a profit flipping one of these. Incredible. And it's just, I've talked about it way too much about the amount of cope that I have with this because I didn't play my normal strategy as I normally do. But this has just been the story of the summer. It might be, the mint of the year. It's looking like it's going to go down that way. But now there's a whole other story, and we often talk about these things as being attention tokens. Gabriel Layden seems to be captivating a lot of people's attention. He's been going out and making some pretty big, pretty bold statements about, how paid mints are done. And the only caveat to that is he still thinks artists should do it because that's their revenue stream of selling their art. But in terms of utility NFTs, gaming NFTs, that the free to own model is here and it's here to stay. People have pushed back on that. They also announced that Limit Break has raised $200 million from the likes of Coinbase, FTX, and some other venture capitalist firms to build their own MMO metaverse type thing on top of DigiDaigaku. Weird thing to say that, founders and whatnot should not be selling their NFTs anymore when you just raised $200 million. And let's not forget, this guy has made an absolute fortune in the free-to-play mobile gaming area. He had two of the biggest mobile apps basically ever in existence and just made absolute bank on that. So this guy is flush with cash before raising all of this money and now just raised $200 million and is telling people that they should not be selling NFTs. That caused a stink, but he's been very vocal about it. Some other kind of sticking points were basically just saying they're making a fully on-chain Web3 MMO, and most people have come to the consensus of saying that's not entirely possible because if it's fully on chain, every time you move, the transaction has to be confirmed. Every time you press jump, a transaction has to be confirmed. And there's not really any gameplay experience that will be conducive to waiting for transactions and paying for the transactions. I think most people are coming to the realization that these games can exist with the ownership elements on chain, but that a Web 2.5 approach is actually the most realistic in terms of execution and enjoyability. But they've put their money where their mouth is, and they're doubling down on these statements, saying that they're going to be the first to do it and that they have the pedigree to do so. Pretty hard to argue against the pedigree component of it when you've built a couple of the biggest mobile apps in history. But also seems like he's really kind of taken to Twitter and starting to figure out the loud marketing component of it too.
That is an incredibly large investment. I mean, even
$200 million in this economy.
No, and I mean, even in traditional, just a traditional gaming company going around to VCs and saying we're going to build the next free to play for Apple, an iOS store, that's a huge raise. I assume whatever roadshow or presentation these guys have is very impressive, and it's backed up by their pedigree, as you mentioned. So I think that they are going to be an obvious player with that type of war chest. And I am looking to, and I don't know if it's DigiDaigaku or going to be Grand Theft Auto or a game we don't know about, or a smaller game that just catches an independent game that catches fire, but something is going to raise the profile of Web3 gaming, and people are going to look back to everything that is in that category. And that's just why I've been so bullish on gaming. I think when you watch the back end to see where the front end goes, and when you see all that back end money flowing into this, well, it's just where I expect one huge area of the next bull market to be.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that, in the sense of if there's one thing to be bullish about through all of this, and I think a lot of us are probably having some cope about not loading up on these, but that's all hindsight is 2020. You know, it's the fact that a Web3 gaming company has gotten a $200 million investment. It's the fact that I think there are a couple of projects that are the recipients of seeing some increases in volume through this too. I think I saw EtherOrcs, Genesis Orcs have almost doubled in price over the past 7 days. I think I had it.
Well, this is,
Yeah,
it's so hard to watch these like percentage rises because right now, I mean, last time I checked, I think there's like 40 orcs for
low listings, thin liquidity. Like I totally get that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and there was like 4 under 0.3. So like someone swept 6 or 7 and it brought us from 0.2 something to 0.5. And then they've cooled off a little bit. But, these projects.
I got to believe that some of these sales are coming off the back of this conversation though, right? Like gaming is getting a big investment. People are seeing this and they're going, I need to go look at some historical projects. And maybe pad my bags with some of them.
Think about, you think about A16 and Binance and Coinbase Ventures. These are your big players. These are your big boys. You get an investment from them. It's front page news in any publication. You're going to have your second and third tier VCs and even your fourth tier VCs looking for their own gaming plays just to have them on the books, right? So teams within the NFT space that show a dedication to building, do not underestimate how they're all of a sudden going to start receiving very large money offers from VCs who need to have Web3 gaming on the book. It's a very small segment of people who have launched a game and are actually devoting resources and time to building it out. And that's going to be noticed by big money very soon here.
For sure. I want to bring up this little tweet that was retweeted by Gabriel Layden. I'm not sure who OX Rise is, but he basically gave some hints to it, but Gabriel Layden concretized the principles in their press release. Free to own has 2 aspects, and then he lists 3. The community begins for free. The NFTs they get are owned by them. Those NFTs are factories that generate new NFTs for gameplay and cosmetics. It's so funny to me that now this narrative is becoming big. And now, obviously, there's just $200 million gets a lot of attention on it or whatever. But these are principles and ideals and things that were being built for quite some time before DigiDaigaku and Limit Break came through. Like these ideas we've been talking about them. I know EtherOrcs has been always bullish on like the NFT, the base NFTs leading to more NFTs that build out the whole ecosystem and create an economy. But I guess I'm happy that it's finally coming to the forefront that these are concepts that are important. And it's not just, what is the token price? How high can we pump the token price? And just token, right? Like, I think the idea of even just base layer tokenomics is going to be a little outdated. I do think that these are going to have an underlying token for all of them, but I don't think the focus is necessarily going to be 100% on the token, right? It's going to be, what do these NFTs produce? What do they lead to? What can you do in the game that provides and builds value upon itself, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. You're seeing EtherOrcs have obviously moved in that direction where the majority.
Have they stopped the passive Zug yield now too?
No, they haven't stopped the passive Zug yield, but given how the game is set up, your best yield is now playing the game. It is not passive. It is in actually getting items and selling those items. It is not in dumping the Zug directly. And this is, I think, how these games want to format. It is where the majority of quote unquote earnings will come in. I do not want to discount the insane bull markets I do think we will see in utility tokens when games catch fire. There's no reason tokens won't see 1,000, 10,000% rises because
And I'm not saying that they won't have value. Right. I think they'll be incredibly important, but I don't think that it will be the only thing that people, you know what I mean? Like, you remember that time with like Wolf Game and Wizards and Dragons, all these things? Everyone was like, what are the tokenomics? What are the, like, it was just, the word was tokenomics all of the time. And it wasn't like, what is this robust economy that you're building out?
Right. Well, tokenomics is that game. Like, it's how do you convince certain people to lock up the tokens? There are different interesting ways you could convince people to voluntarily engage in levels of obfuscation, and that is part of the game and meta, because there's a certain amount of levels of obfuscation that are smart to enter, and then you quickly retreat out of all of them before you get to those third and fourth levels. We're getting into deep game theory there, but I think that is what is going to be moved away from the idea of obfuscation, tokenomics as obfuscation, right? You need sound economics with your token, but at the same time, it is not how the majority of value should ever be derived from. It has to be a balance, right? The value of your assets need to relate to the value of your token and vice versa. So if there's no value to the assets, there's not going to be any value to the token.
That is, that is 100% correct. And, I'm excited that this conversation is happening. Sometimes, it feels like it was a little silent before, but I think this is the step in the right direction. And again, like, hard to not be bullish on the fact that, some very bright investment minds are putting a lot of money into this space, right? So great stuff, regardless of whether or not you got in on DigiDaigaku, whether or not you agree with Gabriel Layden or not. Again, it's good for the attention, and it's good to keep the ball rolling on talking about it. So I just want to give a shout out to all you guys that said GM to us this morning: Brandon, Backroom, CryptoLink, Catfish, Hermano, Trick Shots, Shivers. Like, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We got a couple other things that I think we can kind of just riff on casually as we start to wind down the show. But if you guys could just do me a favor and just hit the like button on this video, it always does help. We're trying to take a serious stab at growing the AlphaMint show, and we're going to be more consistent with getting up and getting live on air a couple times a week, and building out that YouTube channel as well. So I always appreciate the support from you guys, and it does mean a lot to us. I know that. Let's throw some tunes on and just vibe out here. We don't talk about Solana a lot, but we might as well talk about DeGods, because they've been just absolutely crushing it over on Solana. I think they hit almost a 600 Sol floor. Yeah, sitting at 587. I guess I can pull up Magic Eden. I never think to do that. But first NFT project to break a 500 Sol floor. The first, not first NFT project, first Solana project to break a 500 ETH floor. It is essentially at this point the premier project on the Solana chain, and I think it's flipped most in terms of dollar value. Doodles, I would have to do some math there. Azuki's, like, it really is kind of taken off on Solana, and they are coming out with the Utes. Utes list is captivating a lot of attention right now, signing up for that scholarship to get on, I assume, the list to mint it. And if there was ever a reason to go check out Solana, this could be it. I again see a big push for the Solana summer. I don't know what hemisphere of the summer we're talking about is, but I mean, we have less than 3 weeks left in the summer months here in the Northern Hemisphere, and Solana summer has come and gone. But
well, if they sneak this Utes mint in before Labor Day, it technically could be a Solana summer for 3 days.
Yeah, I guess I was talking about more like the official end of summer day, which I believe is September 21st or 2nd, somewhere in that ballpark, 20th. So I guess they have a little bit of time. We like to get hung up on technicalities, and the Solana people will absolutely use that. I don't know. The DeGods, we talk a lot about things looking better the more expensive they get. I don't know that I love these doesn't really matter, I guess. They're incredibly expensive. I
am done with this art is subjective nonsense. Those are hideous. What are we even doing at this? Look, whatever. They're not like, I don't know.
Art is a lot more objective than they give me credit for. I will say that.
Yeah, I know when I see one go by at my stream what it is.
This is true, and that's not a bad thing.
No.
But the Utes, I think, look more like, I don't know. They've got some Bored Ape vibes, if I'm being honest with you, which most Solana projects seem to have. But yeah, get in on this. Honestly, we don't talk about or admit to using Sol very often, but I don't know about you. If I got on the Utes list, I will figure out the Phantom wallet, and I will figure out how to play this.
Yes, I will not. I am. I don't even remember the name of the wallet. I'm out. I don't care about Sol anymore. I don't mind it. It exists. It's probably not going away. There's enough support at this point, but that is money for someone else. I do not care.
Yeah. I know. The more I think about it, and the more I look at it, it's just like, we had Top Shot, we had the ETH NFT run. Sol's always been sitting there, and I'm just like starting to think now, and I hate that I'm even doing this. It's just like, does this like crazy Solana NFT bull run fire up, and it's just like, oh god, why did I miss that opportunity? Or is it just more beneficial to just focus on the niche that focus on the ecosystem that and keep your eyes on that? And that's a hard thing, because once you invite Solana into your life, you're basically, I don't want to say doubling the amount of content and the amount of time and energy that you have to put into paying attention to it, but it definitely does add a bigger load on there.
And for a quick update for everybody, markets have completely rolled over here, and the S&P has fallen under 4,000, and it has dragged ETH down to about 1535 right now. If ETH closed the day under 1540, my bias would flip to neutral. I do think we are going to find support here within 10 points and actually rally into the end of the day. Maybe not get green on S&P, but I do think the worst of the sell-off is about to end now. In my Substack, I mentioned 39.80 as possible Monday or Tuesday. We're at 39.89 right now, and I think we're going to find support right there, and that'll bounce ETH along with it. ETH holding up relatively well here at 1530 right now, given the complete reversal in traditional markets.
When do you have it? When did you get a Substack?
I don't know. It materialized one day. It's there.
Why did you shill it? Pump it. What are you writing about right now?
Naturally, I'll let it do it. It has 10 subscribers in the last few days. I write my thoughts on markets because I enjoy doing it. That's pretty much the only reason it's free. Go subscribe.
There you go. Launched 5 days ago. Well done, man. I'm gonna sign up for this. You're just too humble. I'm just gonna do the organic thing. This is your show. This is your platform. So there we go. Free market, mrkt.substack.com. I'm shilling it for you. I don't care.
It is in my Twitter bio to analyze. If you just want to go click through there, it's quick. But it's free market .substack, no vowels in the market, MRKT. Bada bing, bada boom. 39.84 right now, coming in on that target. ETH again holding 1530. I think ETH is grump. ETH is like, why are you doing this to me? I was ready. I was primed. What is this?
Vitalik just showed the meat stick, and now the S&P is raining on his parade.
ETH is like, I don't want to be down. I have no reason to be down. Why are you dragging me down with you? I'm not. This is your party. This isn't my thing. As I mentioned earlier in the show, we had a Fed governor come out earlier today and start jawboning again. And everything you're seeing in traditional markets is in response to Fed talk about we need to battle inflation. We need to be more hawkish. We need this. We need that. I think it is a misdirection. I don't think the market actually cares about the talk. And I do think that good data is going to pull us out of this. And the bear trap is about to end within a few points here. We'll see if I prove to be right.
We shall see. What else do we got to talk about today?
I thought that Epics collection that Clampy talked about was very interesting. Very interesting. Not an instant cook of any sort. Just very interesting in what they're doing. I'm a sucker for things that are completely on chain. And this is a merge. What would you call it? Memento, keepsake, like, oh, remember the merge? You know,
yeah, I'll pull that up. I had it queued up. I wasn't sure if we were going to talk about it, but yeah. The initial idea was that these were going to, I guess, increase in mint price and that they could be minted fully on chain all the way up to when ETH switches to proof of stake. They have paused the minting. There's just under 8,300 of these. Had a lot of volume, not in pure ETH terms. I guess I should pull up the OpenSea page. Not just in pure ETH terms, just because they never really got above like 0.03, 0.04. But a lot of sales in terms of actual quantity, changing hands and whatnot. But yeah, some mixed opinions on him. Like at first glance, looks like pretty decent pixel art. Not the cleanest I've ever seen. The backgrounds are pretty nice. But as you mentioned, fully on chain and a memento, kind of these heroes and gods style stuff of the impending merge. I definitely bought a bunch of these. If it goes to zero, I am not going to lose any sleep over it. It's nice to play these things, and it never hurts to grab a couple. I do find it interesting after looking at it a little bit is this proof of beauty. They've done a couple of other things. They have some stuff up on OpenSea, nothing of huge consequence, but they seem to be building a brand. What I found interesting was that when you look at the followers and who it's followed by, for a page that has less than 8,000 followers, there's some pretty big names that are paying attention to it. Mev, I mean, I don't know if that means anything, but Zeneca, Beanie, Value in Time, got Trilla is a name I always see really active on Twitter. Hunter Orel, Xcopy, Jake the Degen, Burke from Begans, Brian Brinkman. Like, some prominent names that are following a relatively inconsequential Twitter account. I don't think that they're all of a sudden going to like start pumping it and whatnot, but always just piques my interest when before this all went down, these names were aware of this brand. So again, if it goes to zero and the volume dies out, it won't be the end of my NFT career or anything like that. But I guess just something to maybe keep an eye on. I think they look pretty good, but as you said, like, might be a historical on-chain relic too, right?
Yeah, and I love those type of memento plays when they're thoughtfully done. This is what I believe are people who are fans of Ethereum. I think this is thoughtfully done, and I believe that that is why they speak to me and why I think they would speak to other people. Fun project. That's why I wanted to talk about it and point it out. I bought a few. I actually had 5 more loaded up in the gem recently, but gas has spiked to 40 as markets melt down around the world. So.
Incredible that we are now saying gas spiking to 40.
Who wants to pay 40 at this point? Oh, 40.
I mean, I get it. It's just what a change in pace from, remember when it was like under 100 was like licking your lips. Good. Just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna set this bad boy for 90 and see when it goes through.
Yep, exactly. Well, Times are changing.
What was your take? Maybe we can make this a bigger discussion on Friday about the whole royalty debate, but specifically X2Y2 giving people the option to pay the royalty. And if this data is correct, the surprising result of most people actually paying the royalty.
And I wonder, is that a factor of them not knowing that they didn't have to pay?
Could be, or maybe by default, the aggregators like the gems and the genies pay the royalty.
That's my point, is that let's say you flipped it around and that the default was you don't pay it and you have to click a button to pay it. Nobody would pay the royalty. That would be the end of royalties.
Yeah, it's still an interesting debate to me, and I do think it is more of just the function of people's edge drying up, and they're looking to recapture any 5 to 10% that they can.
As someone who's not technically minded here, explain to me how they're doing that. It's for people who are collecting royalties through a marketplace's contract, right? Not for people who have it embedded in their own.
There is no royalties embedded in contracts.
Okay, it's only through
marketplaces. That was the big deal about SudoSwap doing the NFT like liquidity things, because there was no royalties. And you can't really build it into a smart contract because there's nothing stopping me from sending you an NFT and then in a separate contract you sending me the proper ETH, or even doing so through escrow, right? So me sending an NFT to somebody else just directly to their wallet, there's no prescribed value in that transaction, and therefore no royalty can be extracted from it. I think that was a lot of people's big kind of idea, was just that like you can't enforce this, so why have it at all? But then on the other side of it was like, well, I thought this was one of the big selling points about NFTs, right? You know, and we're in this market where, well, not right now, but previously towards the beginning of this year and middle to end of last year, there was so much volume, so much liquidity. People didn't really seem to have a problem paying for it, especially when the flips were frequent and lucrative. And now that narrative has gone away. I don't know what the right answer is. I tend to believe that like I was drawn to this space because royalties seemed like a cool idea. I don't think as this space matured in the same way that like the arbitrage or the opportunity and sneaker flipping and all of that stuff is slowly getting diminished, that flipping NFTs is going to be quite as profitable as it has been. I think that, you know, you look at somebody like DC Investor, who often says, he had a tweet the other day, he said, you can copy trade me all you want, but just know that copy trade is going to take 5 to 10 years for it to mature, right? Like, as long as you're cool with locking up that liquidity, like I'm picking things that I think are going to be important 5 to 10 years out. And I think that that's more of where this is going to go.
I do think a lot of these things will be museum pieces one day. Of course, that just takes time to play out. So, you know, I don't think people understand what I think long term for most people is a few years.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. So, there will be a CryptoPunk in the Smithsonian.
Oh yeah. No,
if there's not already.
I think there will be Begon punks. Yes. I'm not even saying that in a facetious way. I think that the type of art Burke made will be recognized as an important part of a generative /PFP movement.
Do love the Begans. I actually I like seeing the Began back in your PFP too. It's been a while.
Yeah, I don't know. It felt good as a Substack brand, so I'm going to rock it.
We takes me back to the BitClout days. That was your PFP always there, right? It was, yeah. Yes. RIP.
Always.
What's DSO doing these days? Ha ha ha! Not look.
Sending me emails.
Are they?
Periodically, I get emails.
What are the emails saying? Like, hey, we just launched What was the last thing I saw them doing? They were trying to be the DAO place.
Yeah, and then it's like community engagement stuff, like just stuff that's like, look, we're alive and doing community.
Yikes.
Yeah.
$6. Down bad.
$6 for what?
For a DSO.
Oh,
God, remember when that hit 200? What a time.
I do.
What a time.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, well.
S&P 3972 now, putting that support level to test. Is it going to be a complete collapse in markets? We will see.
How's ETH responding?
1510 right now, finally starting to get dragged down along with the S&P. But like I said, S&P is at critical support right now in this 3960 to 3980 band. And if it doesn't hold it, if we closed even here, if we closed right here on the week, my bias would flip bearish again short term, and I would be throwing out the playbook with which I had been working, as often happens in trading.
I have not been trading any of that lately.
Yeah, my brilliant move so far has been selling 2015. I don't know if buying 1490 was brilliant yet, as I look at S&Ps, trying to see if traditional markets are going to ruin that play. I mean, I'm up a little bit right now, but obviously I don't feel safe given what's going on. So
Analyze in the chat saying employment situation on Friday, not really something to look forward to. What does that mean?
Well, it's one of those that I don't think there are any good employment number. I mean, I don't know if this is exactly what analyze means by this, but I will say that there is nothing good that could come out of an employment number. If the employment number is bad, people will say the economy is finally tanking. Oh shit, here we go. Recession is coming. If the employment numbers are great, people are going to say, God damn it, we're still running hot. The Fed has to keep putting pressure on interest rates to the upside, et cetera, et cetera. So I am of the camp that while a very hot or a very cold employment number would likely move markets, I think everyone is just focused on core month-over-month CPI right now. And if it continues to cool, we are still going to see new highs.
Well, inflation this last month was 0, right?
Yes, there was no price increase. Now, the year-over-year is still up as we do year-over-year comparisons, but that's not what the Fed is watching. The Fed is watching month over month because remember, they don't want to tank the economy more than they have to. This is a game of trying to slow things down without breaking them completely. And I guess what is scaring people is that their attempts to slow things down so far have not worked at all. I still really believe that we are going to continue to get softer inflation numbers till mid-October. So bears are going to have a hard time until then. And then finally at that point, things will turn around and we will head lower again. But we have about 2 months for this to play out. So we'll see.
Oh, I just want that number to go up. I'm okay with it though.
Yes.
I think we were talking about this yesterday on Moon Monday or whatever. Definitely feels healthier than we did a month ago.
Well, we're not going down because of liquidations right now. We're going down.
That's a good point.
Right. We're going down because of macro concerns and sentiment got too bullish. I would say sentiment has now reset. We just need the narrative to change from Fed is saying hawkish things to, ooh, inflation still seems to be cool. That'll happen. We'll pump my Substack again. As I had said in my Substack, I thought this week would be choppy and uncomfortable. I didn't think either side would feel good. And yesterday, bears were very surprised at the small rally we had, and a lot of people got hurt. And I think bulls may be surprised at how down we are today, and they are getting hurt. And everybody finally by the second week of August had turned bullish and was like, yeah, oh yeah, the last 2 weeks of August, definitely bullish, but September is going to be bearish. Well, you know the trader in me. I was like, well, the last 2 weeks of August are going to be choppy and bearish, and September is going to be bullish, and that's what I think. So September is almost upon us. We remember there's end of month window dressing, as they call it, going on right now. You need to get things off your books that don't look good and get things on your book that look good. And again, this is a perception thing. It doesn't have to do with actual long-term positioning of a lot of these funds. And right now, your basic underlying condition is underexposure. People who run mutual funds, pensions, hedge funds, etc., are as underexposed to risk as they have been in decades. They may be right. And maybe inflation will continue to get hot. We will tank, and they will have been proven correct to stay on the sidelines. If they are incorrect, they are going to be tripping over each other to get back in. So that is what I think is going to cause the bull trap coming up in late September and early October. It's the underexposure by these funds. So this is the issue right now, is like, we need bad stuff to make us go down, but we don't really need anything too good to make us go up. Just a calming down, a plateauing, which is what we saw last month, is enough to support a big rally. So that's what I'm watching. Data. It's all about the data, guys.
Yeah, and even just like a calming down in terms of like for ETH, that merge narrative, again, I'm assuming everything's going well because it seems to be coming up in the next 2 weeks tops.
Moved up now. It was moved up to September 13th. Yeah. And remember, the beacon deployment is going to be happening sooner than that. So this is upon us. And
yeah, it's happening. It's like this is 5-6 years.
Yeah, and how anybody is bearish at this price. You know, if we were still at 4,800, there'd probably be a case for being bearish into the merge. I think a lot of the bad that could have happened has happened. And now you're looking at undervalued ETH into the most bullish narrative in all of crypto. If we can just get these dumb macro markets to chill their tits, I really think ETH is very bullish into the merge. So let's see here. I'm thinking my trade will survive this pullback, but we will adjust if things get worse. We'll see.
All right. Well, I think that's probably a good time to start wrapping this up. I think
like a Christmas present.
What's friend. That?
Like a Christmas present on Boxing Day.
Christmas coming up soon. 3 months.
Jeez.
3 months?
Nice.
4 months?
Nice. I don't know. We like the Christmas.
Yeah. No, I think it's going to be a very bullish fall going into winter. Hopefully, you know, if the world macro situation can stay on track and, you know, things get better. Bitcoin dumping right now? What is dumping?
Not more. I mean, Bitcoin and ETH followed the S&P downs. They're both a little bit off the lows, but yes, when we started the show, ETH was 1570. It's 1527 right now, and I assume Bitcoin has seen a similar decline, though I have not.
Yeah, I think it's a little more exasperated than ETH's, but like a little. ETH has given back that 8% gain that we had this morning.
Yeah. And I'm not just saying this as an ETH maxi. Bitcoin has lost the narrative short term. I think a flippening will occur. It could be one of those things where the flippening briefly happens and then it quickly retraces, and it only like when punks flipped apes. When apes flipped punks the first time, and then they quickly went back under, and it was like, haha, that was just like a one-day thing, and it's never like that type of thing. But
ETH is basically at half the market cap of Bitcoin right now. So yeah, like one of those insane like 100% over the course of 8 days, which has happened plenty of times, could do it for sure.
So my quick
and this is coming from
analysis,
somebody that believes it will never happen. Like it's in striking range.
My quick technical analysis on ETH is that it's in a bullish ABCD wave. The extended target for that ABCD wave is $3,200. If it did hit that $3,200 post merge and Bitcoin just treads water here, that's how we get our flipping.
That would be a day.
That'd be a day to sell, I'm pretty sure, but it'd be a day.
It could be, yeah. Oh my God. I just, you know, as much as I always like appreciate Bitcoin, like I have no qualms against it. I think it serves its purpose. It's kind of beauty is in its simplicity. The Bitcoin maxis. Oh my God. Oh my God. Could you imagine? Like,
oh, I cannot wait to drink that wine.
Yes,
I will be.
Yeah. I can only imagine how many times you are going to post the Kermit sipping tea meme on Twitter during that time.
I mean, the way that they got so excited that ETH was down in percentage terms more than Bitcoin during this pullback, that they wanted to see Bitcoin under 20 grand just so they could see ETH in 3 digits. I remember those maxi posts where we want to tank Bitcoin just so we can kill ETH once and for all and all this.
What a way to live your life, you know? Like I want everybody, and here's the thing, right? A real like current day Bitcoin maxi, like their narrative is that they're trying to protect everyone from the scam that is ETH and everything that's not Bitcoin. But they're willing to, they want to see that go to zero so that everybody can lose. Like I don't get it. It's so ass backwards. And even like the Bitcoin maxis of old look at this like new Bitcoin maximalism as just like so toxic. And don't get me wrong, there are like hardcore ETH maxis that will do the same thing, but yeah, it's crazy to me. It's crazy how toxic that mindset can be.
Yep.
Market cap of crypto hanging on by a thread to the $1 trillion mark. $1 trillion, $4.5 billion.
1/3 in Apple.
1/3 in Apple. Oh, yeah, true. Yeah. We're still early, folks. On that note, we are going to wrap up episode 148 of the morning show. We're going to do it for real this time. I appreciate everybody tunes in, giving us your time, your energy. Always great to be on the stage with you, Free Market. One last time, if you haven't done so, please hit the like button. Always appreciate it. We will be back on Friday, right? We're going to do this on Friday, 9:30 a.m. We got it. Mm-hmm. Book it, mark it in your calendars. We will be back live, and we'll look forward to seeing you all there. Until next time, guys, Free Market, get us out of here.
Good luck at the tables, DGen.